This being Father's Day, my message is meant primarily for our newest daddy, Josh, and his beloved Ashley, but I hope that there is something in this for all of us. I spoke with a friend who lamented the fact that she hadn't gone to college and she hadn't been a success in the workaday world. She had married and had a family. But don't you see, that is the most important success in all the world. When Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, affirmed this at a recent graduation ceremony in Atchison, Kansas, you may know that he received a boatload of grief. Sometimes the world doesn't know how to measure success. Years ago, Carol and I were in New York City, and we went to the Malcolm Forbes Museum. Many wonderful exhibits. The one that stayed with me was an enormous display of trophies, awards, medals won in various endeavors, which at the time must have seemed terribly important, but they had all been purchased by Malcolm Forbes at various pawn shops and estate sales. The success represented by those awards ultimately amounted to very little. Here is an example of what does matter. The great painter Benjamin West recounted that when he was quite young, his mother left him alone with his little sister Sally. Benjamin discovered some bottles of ink and made an incredible mess. When his mother came home, she noticed the paper that he had used for a painting that he had created. She picked it up and she said, "Why, it's Sally." And she kissed him. And later he noted, "My mother's kiss made me a painter." A parent's kindness, acceptance, encouragement, forgiveness can make all the difference in the world. It's called grace. Here's a top 10 list for dads. A survey of elementary school children was conducted, and this indicated the 10 most appreciated qualities for dads. He takes time for me. He plays with me. He invites me to go places with him. He lets me help him. He treats my mother well. He lets me say what I think. He's nice to my friends. He only punishes me when I deserve it. He isn't afraid to admit that he is wrong. The top 5 qualities involve time. For a child, love is spelled Time. According to James Dobson, listen to this. The average father spends less than a minute of face-to-face communication with his child or children on any given day. In fact, 37 seconds. We devote time and energy to the people and things we value most. Children conclude that if you don't have time for me, then you must not care about me. I read of a dad who promised his 2 sons to take them to the circus. But early that morning, the phone rang, an urgent business call that required the father's presence downtown. The two boys braced themselves for the disappointment. And then they heard their father say, "No, I won't be down. It will have to wait." When he came back to the breakfast table, his wife smiled. "The circus keeps coming back, you know," she said. "Yes, I know," replied the father, "but childhood doesn't." When our son Jay was a little boy, he asked me one evening to read him a book that was too long for one sitting. After reading 2 chapters, I put it down and I said, "Well, maybe later we can find out what happened." And then I was told, "Oh, Mom's already read that book to me twice." What did he really want? He wanted time. Kids deserve our time and attention, and if I had it to do over again, he would have gotten more of my time. Maybe that's what honorary grandpas are for. We dads need to listen more, whatever the age of our kids, our children. If we spoke less and listened more, maybe we would exasperate our kids less. The scriptures called it provoke. We need to be approachable. Sometimes we don't make it easy for kids to say what's really on their minds. We need to hear the things that are important to them. You know, it has been said that a child is an island of curiosity surrounded by a sea of question marks. The average child, listen to this, will ask 500,000 questions from the time they begin to speak until they're 15. 500,000. Answering questions is only part of what we convey. Much of what our kids learn is caught rather than taught. They learn from what they observe. Paul tells us to bring up our children in the training and admonition of the Lord. One parent is worth more than a dozen teachers. One parent is worth more than a dozen pastors. The book of Proverbs tells us, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it." None of us comes from a perfect home. Some of us may need to reach out to our parents if we are still blessed to have them, or children, or siblings seeking reconciliation. We may need to offer forgiveness or to release ourselves from bitterness we may have been carrying from our homes of origin. But let me close with a quote from General Douglas MacArthur. He said, "By profession, I am a soldier and take great pride in that fact. But I am prouder, infinitely prouder, to be a father. A soldier destroys in order to build. A father only builds, never destroys." He goes on to say, "It is my hope that my son, when I am gone, will remember me not from the battle, but from the home." That's my hope too. Just as Carol and I lovingly recall our fathers from the homes in which we grew up, I pray that our son will remember us in the home. And if you have been blessed to be a parent, that is my prayer for you on this Father's Day. God bless our parents this day and always. Amen.